My name's Jenny Nicolau, and I'm with the Almond Board of California. Did you know that California grows 80% of the world's supply of almonds? And it takes nearly a whole year to grow those almonds. If you were to drive by an almond orchard in the wintertime, you might think that the trees are dead. That's because there's no leaves on the branches. What's happening is that those trees are storing up all of their nutrients for the spring. We call this time of the year winter dormancy, and it's equal to when a bear hibernates in a cave in the winter, where they store up all their energy and they sleep for the winter, getting ready for spring. In this spring, something amazing happens in the almond orchards, and that's when every single almond tree is filled with beautiful pink and white blossoms. The trees look like huge cotton balls, and in fact, if you were to drive by these orchards during springtime, what you would actually find out is that the biggest party of the year is happening in an almond orchard. Bloom time is when the trees blossom with these flowers, and it's really the almond tree's invitation to honeybees to come out and party. A honeybee actually has to fly to every single almond blossom for that blossom to become an almond, and we call this time of the year pollination. Did you know that we actually need honeybees to pollinate more than 90 crops or fruits and vegetables? Some of my favorite fruits and vegetables wouldn't exist if we didn't have honeybees. Everything from watermelon to pumpkins to apples, cherries, and of course, beautiful, delicious California almonds. Now, after pollination happens, which is normally around Valentine's Day, the trees grow the leaves, and that's when the nut starts to develop. Anywhere from about mid-March to about mid-June or July, the nuts are growing on the tree. While the almonds are growing throughout the spring and early summer, an almond grower makes sure that those trees get the perfect amount of water that they need without wasting anything. So the almonds are watered throughout the growing season, and also the almond grower will put up pest traps to monitor the pest in the orchard. Now, every time you see a bug, you don't have to take care of it, but these traps help growers know when it's time to manage the pest so that the trees are happy and healthy. Walking into an almond orchard, you wouldn't actually recognize the almonds because they're covered by this soft green fuzzy outside that we call a hull. That hull actually protects the almonds from wind, rain, sunburn, bugs. During that time, the almond grower's taking care of the trees, a lot like how your parents help take care of you. They make sure the trees are happy and healthy, they make sure they get plenty of water, and that there's no bugs or pests that bother them. After the nuts start to develop, right about the middle of July, it gets so hot that all you're thinking about is jumping in the pool or eating a popsicle. Well, that hull starts to dry out and split open, and we call that hull split. That's how we know it's time to harvest the almonds.
My name is Nick Gatesman. I'm a partner here at Travail & Phippen. The first step in harvest is to get the almonds off of the tree. And so what we do is we come through with what's called a shaker, and the shaker has an arm, and it grabs the trunk of the tree and then starts to shake the tree. When it does that, it shakes it for about 5 to 7 seconds, and all of the almonds fall down onto the ground. Then once the almonds are on the ground, we let them lie there for about a week and let the sun dry them even further, because we need to have the almonds dry before we bring them into the processor. And then we'll come through with a machine that's called a sweeper or a rake. And what it does is it will take all of those almonds on the ground and sweep them into a nice row right down the middle of the tree row. That's about 3 feet wide. After that, we'll come through with a machine called a pickup machine or a harvester, and it will drive right over the top of the almonds and pick them up, load them into a cart, and then that cart will take them to the truck that's waiting outside the ranch to bring out to the processor.
When you pick the almonds off of the orchard floor, there's still that kind of fuzzy green outside. Then there's the almond hull, and inside there what you can't see is the almond. So what happens, you pick them up from the orchard, and then you take them to the huller and the sheller. And what they do there, of course, is take off the hull, which is that outside protective layer, and then they also take off the almond shell.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Dave Phippen, and I'm here gladly to show you the operation that my partners, my brother Scott Phippen and my partner Bud Travail and I started in 1980. So we're standing in the whole barn. One of the things that we're proud in the almond industry is we waste nothing. So the almonds come here from the field, they're picked up off the floor of the orchard. And of course, when you have a machine picking things up off the floor of the orchard, you get in a lot more than just almonds inside your trailers. The first thing it does is it goes into the pre-cleaner, and that's where we find all the things that aren't almonds in that load. We find the sticks, and we find the rocks, and we find the dirt. Then we introduce the almond in the hull into the almond huller. So as the almonds are traveling through what we call a shear roll, remember that the almonds are many different sizes, we just gradually lower from one shear roll to the next, slightly lowering the shear roll to get closer to the smallest almond. And we can always tell if we're too close, some of the brown skin will come loose. So then we'd raise that roll just enough so that we don't remove brown skin. The almonds have a great value if the brown skin is perfectly intact, and they have a lesser value when they show white. So when the almonds come out of the almond sheller, the next step is into a fumigation chamber, because some of the almonds might be harboring a pest as it came in from the orchard. So we put them into a fumigation chamber, making sure we eliminate any pests. When they come out of the fumigation chamber, the next thing we're starting to think about marketing these almonds now. You have to know what size the almond is before you can market. So you'll see a sizing machine. It's just a bunch of shaker decks with holes in them. The biggest almonds fall out of the biggest hole, and the smaller almonds come out of the smaller hole. Where we have three products that come out of there. We have the almond kernel, which is what everybody's after. We have the almond hull and the almond shell. What's revolutionary in that sheller is we're using electronic sorters, which is optics, and every almond kernel that flows through there is being looked at through a camera, and it happens 4 times and sometimes more than 4 times. And it just enhances quality, it finds defects and takes them out of the chain. You'll see some robotic sorting of almonds, and I think we're one of the few. We're not the only, but we're the developers of this system. And it's interesting to me that, so many years ago, our country embraced space technology, and here we're using the optics that were floating around in space. We're using them right here in Ripon, California to sort almonds. From there, the almonds go into a warehouse, and we can store enough almonds at this facility to keep people employed for the rest of the year. So we never run out of almonds to further process for marketing. So back to this building, this is where we store the almond hulls. This building holds about approximately 15 to 16,000 tons of almond hulls. And I think it's always interesting for people to know that for every pound of almond, we get 2 pounds of almond hulls. If you look to my right, you'll also see a big pile of shell. That's another one of the byproducts.
But we don't waste the other 2 products, the hull or the shell. In fact, all of those almond hulls actually go to dairies, and the cows eat them. Cows love almond hulls because they're filled with sugar and they really taste like candy to them. And the almond shells aren't wasted either. We grind those up into small pieces, and then we make a bed for the cows to sleep on. What we're left with, those tasty almonds, actually go into so many products, everything from cereal to toppings on your ice cream. You could put sliced or diced almonds inside your brownies or your cookies. Some people who can't have traditional flour can use almond flour to make cookies. There's also almond butter and jelly, just like peanut butter and jelly, which is delicious and my favorite. And of course, there's almond milk. It doesn't taste like almonds at all. You could buy almond milk in vanilla flavor, chocolate flavor, and that is amazing in smoothies. 23 almonds is 1 serving, or how much you should eat every day, because that's the perfect amount between protein, vitamin E, all of those great nutrients that your body needs so that you're big and strong and happy. The almonds that we grow here in California and right here in San Joaquin County and Stanislaus County, they get shipped to 90 countries around the world. So everywhere from China to India, Japan, Germany, Mexico, kids all around the world are eating the almonds that we grow right here. So at the end of this video, when you go home today, make sure you ask your parents to buy some almonds for you.